In this video, we officially start Chapter 2, Level Annuities. In the next chapter, we will study something similar, but with varying annuities. So level annuities, which means the size of the payments is the same. In the next chapter, we will learn varying annuities, meaning the size of the payments may change. So that's the difference between Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. When I made those lecture slides, I didn't follow everything from the textbook as I did in Chapter 1. So here I only have 3 sections, but nevertheless, those slides will cover the same content. First, let's take a look. The definition 1 tells what we are trying to study in this chapter. Annuity is a series of payments made at equal intervals. Here I put equal in red, meaning it does not have to be equal intervals. Okay, although that is the most likely the case in this chapter, but we really don't have to require the payments to be made at equal intervals. So series is the same as sequence. So basically, we have a sequence of payments. What makes it slightly different from our introduction in sequence is that we can't just sum up the payments, right? Again, why? That's because of the time value of money. So even though the amount may be the same, let's say here is time. So this is the timeline. So let's say I have $1 here, $1 here, $1 here, $1 here. So this sequence is not worth of $5 at time 0, right? It's obvious that it will be worth less than $5. So when we do the summation, we don't directly add all of them together, right? We will be adding the present values. Okay, so that's the opening remark. We will see that later on. But now let's just focus on the definition. Annuity, as in this example, is nothing but a series of payments. So it's a sequence of numbers, right? And the meaning of AI is the payment at time I. Okay, according to the difference in terms of amount, we have level annuities. That is the topic we study in Chapter 2. And we also have varying annuities. That means the payments may differ in size. So in my example, this is a level annuities because there are 5 payments of the same size, size $1. Okay, it can be 1, can be 2, can be 3, can be 4, can be 5. Then what I have is a varying annuities, right? So it's very straightforward to understand the first one. So let's close it out. The second one is the timing of payments. There are 2 types. The first one is Annuity Immediate. So those payments are made at the end of the year or end of each period. So the name is actually rather confusing, right? It's Annuity Immediate, but the payment is actually not immediate. It's actually at the end of the period. The second type is called Annuity Due. Okay, those annuities are truly paid at the beginning. So for instance, in my example here, it's actually Annuity Due, right? Because the first payment of $1 is paid at time 0. Time 0 is the beginning of the first period, right? So if I'm going to give you an Annuity Immediate, it would be in this case. So consider 3 timelines. Here I have $100. Here I have a payment of $100. Here I have a payment of $100. So this is a level annuity, and it's an Annuity Immediate because there are 3 equal payments of size 100, and all of them are paid at the end of each year. The first payment is paid at the end of year 1. The second at the end of year 2, and so on. So this is Annuity Immediate. Okay, check it out. The next one is the number of payments. Okay, so if we categorize annuities by the number of payments, there are two categories. The first one is a term annuity. This is a sequence of finite elements. So let's say there are n payments. So far, the examples I gave you are all term annuities, right? Here you have either 4 or 5 payments. Here you have 3 payments. They are finite. Okay, there is a second case, which we call perpetuities. This is the case that the number of payments is infinite. So there are infinite amount of payments. The fourth criterion we consider is whether there is a deferral. Deferral means the first payment is not paid in period 1. So let's look at the example. Okay, let's say my first payment is here, $100. Here is $100, goes on. Let's assume it doesn't end. So what I have here is a special perpetuity. Okay, and it's, by the way, when we study so many criteria, we can mix them. So what I'm giving you here is actually a perpetuity. Let's say it's not paid for the first 3 years. So I have a deferral period, or deferred by 3 years. So this special perpetuity starts in year 4. In the first 3 years, there is no payment. So the deferred annuity. So this is a deferred. So let me put it down. So this is a deferred perpetuity. Okay, and it is actually a perpetuity immediate, because in the 4th year, $100 is paid at the end of year 4, at the end. So it's a perpetuity immediate. Right, as you can see from here, you can kind of mix those ingredients, right, and get a different annuity. Okay, and the next is the payment interval. Okay, we have the standard ones. Standard annuities have equal time intervals. So it's paid, let's say, every year or every month or every quarter. So it's paid in discrete times. So that's why, in the original definition, they put it the equal intervals. But there is also a second case, which I call continuously payable annuity. This is somehow in line with our force of interest. Right? Normally, interest is compounded in discrete times. Let's say compounded once a year, twice a year, but it can also be compounded continuously, which means the sequence or the time interval goes to 0. So you have continuous payment. Okay, this is usually for the research purpose or help us understand some complicated annuities. So in fact, the case of continuous is actually easy in mathematics, right? Remember when we study force of interest, all we need to do is to consider exponential function. And that is very, very easy to study, right? I mean, by the definition of it may be more complicated than compound case or simple case. But when it comes to computation, it's actually quite easy to do, right? And that is particularly the case in annuity. The continuous case is very easy to do. The last criterion we consider is called the payment contingency. We don't discuss in this course. I just give you an example, like 2 examples in the industry. For example, they are most annuities are actually dependent on life. So if So let's say Tom has purchased a life annuity. So he will receive annuities, which he will receive periodic payments as long as he is alive. Okay, so that's sometimes what we call life annuities. If he somehow passes away, there could be one lump sum payment to his beneficiaries. Okay, that is possible. There are also guarantees. Okay, but that's more advanced topic. So to us, the most important thing are those four. Okay, so please focus on those four. Okay, the next two, let's ignore. As already mentioned, by combining different options, we get different types of annuities. Okay, and here we focus on level annuities, which means if I go back to the first criterion, we only consider this. Okay, but still, we have 2, 3, and 4. We can mix up, right? It can be immediate, or it can be due. It can be term annuities, or can be perpetuities, or it can be deferred by a certain amount of time. So we will do the pricing for all of them. And technically speaking, if you understand one, you should be able to understand the rest. Section 2 is the main part of this chapter, and we will spend a lot of time in the second section. How about I stop here for this video? This is a rather short video, because in the next one will be a little long. So let me stop here for the first section.